Hey everyone, Sarah Jean here. So I wanted to do one more video today because a lot of people wanted to see more of my little field note journals. And then earlier today I did the journal tips little video. And so I wanted to show more of my own pages and maybe describe a little bit what I did for each one. And yeah, that's it. This is the first field note journal I ever did. I think this is from 2014. The edition is America the Beautiful, which you can't find anymore, but it's one of my favorites because the paper is thicker. Although now with the newest ones like the Shenandoah, they've been using thicker paper anyways, but I really loved this. Flipping through this one, it's kind of funny because you can tell I hadn't really started to art journal yet. It's mostly notes, regular journaling, sorry. This was a piece from the book Tuesdays with Morrie that I really enjoyed. Simple journaling, this was a poem I wrote down because I believe it was Veterans Day. Lists, grocery list. This was a trip to an art museum my daughter and I took. This was the lyrics to a song I liked. This at the time was my field note collection. And the numbers have about stayed the same even though I've purchased more because I gave away a lot. Journaling. There's a little bit of decorations here and there, but not really. This was my Christmas and New Year card list to make sure I sent one out to everybody. Journaling, there's a few photos in here, but not too many. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Star Trek sticker I got from the grocery store, which was super cool. But yeah, pretty simple. I hadn't really figured out quite what I wanted to do yet in this one. And then, by the time I got to the next one, I sort of just went nuts with it. This is a Shelterwood edition. I don't think you can get these anymore either, but they have a regular edition now that's cherry wood that's very similar. The only difference is the pages are, I believe, graphed and not lined, and the paper's not quite as thick, but it still has this sort of wood cover, which is really nice. And this one, I sort of went crazy. I did a lot more art journaling. I was using a lot of inks to stain the pages. If ink went through to the other page, I wasn't concerned about it because I liked the effect that it did. I was sort of experimenting a lot in this one. This was like a little pocket that I made, and I used some sort of like waxy paint, it feels like. I'm not quite sure what I did there. I was doing some jelly plating and playing around with that. This is those Dauber inks I was talking about. They're Distress Stains by Tim Holtz. I like to do a lot of tip-ins, so I take other pieces of paper or cards and I washi tape them in because I don't know, for some reason I like folding things out in my journals. But still fairly simple. I mean, I didn't get too crazy, but you can see that I was starting to use color, was starting to use different mediums. This I think is just watercolors and that white Sharpie marker I showed in the journal tips video. I believe this is the same. This was a Project Life card, this is fabric tape, and then it was just like watercolors and markers. So fairly simple and quick. This was actually jelly plating. If you don't know what jelly plating is, it's basically this gelatinous square, and you roll paint onto it, and then you use stencils and make imprints in the paint, and then you stick a piece of paper on the paint and it leaves the imprints. Sadly, I don't have that anymore, but looking through this journal, it kind of makes me want to get another one. But that's a whole nother story. And I usually write on the fold-outs or stick photos on the fold-outs, like this one has a photo. Staple things in. I let my kids draw on them. If something comes up too dark, I find a way to write on it anyways, either by sticking out something on it or like this is whiteout. Some more jelly painting, some more fabric paint. This was a felt traveler's notebook I actually made for my daughter, and that was a little sketch I had drawn out for myself. When I come across an entry I don't want anyone to read, I either write it in both directions, or I write it on really dark backgrounds, or I think I've even like scribbled one out in here. But this one's still fairly straightforward, just mostly journaling, a little bit of paint splattered. I enjoyed. This next one, I feel like I used a lot of paint in, if I remember. This was a special edition that you can't get anymore. I feel bad because I keep saying that. But this just had plain white paper, and the paper was pretty thin, but I used a lot of different inks in it, and some of the pages are warped, but that doesn't bother me. I think a lot of the pages in this I used the gesso so that it built a layer between the water and the paper, and that worked out really nicely. This one I've got lots of paints. This is just acrylic paint I smeared with my finger. This is acrylic paint smeared with my finger. The green is the Distress ink by Tim Holtz. This page I really hated at first. I was trying a few different things and I didn't like any of it, and this is actually paper from an old book that I like glued in, and it was a big, huge mess. But like I said, actually now looking at it now, I kind of really like it. I don't know how that happens, it's weird. This was just a pencil drawing of a feather, and then I used those water-soluble markers I was talking about and then added water to it, so it sort of made it look like watercolors. More acrylic, more acrylic. Makes some of it hard to read, but not too bad. That's another jelly plating thing I did. Quick sketch of a leaf and more Distress ink. This background was all smeared with acrylic paint, and then I sort of painted the flower in. These were little cutouts from a brochure that I got when we were at the harbor one day. Another feather. I was using a lot of watercolors in this book. More watercolors, more washi. This was another acrylic background, and then I was at work one day and had my watercolors, and I was painting these plant thingies, and then it sort of ended up looking like a desert. It wasn't my original intention. This is a tree that I'd painted, which just, I kept adding to it, and it got worse and worse and worse, but then covering it with the leaf and with a photo and with some journaling, I actually really like it as well. A lot of this is just mistakes gone over. You know, I start with the background layer, and then when I actually get to the page, I painted something else, and then I wrote over what I painted. That's what I did with a lot of this. I see a little bit of like scrapbooking stuff, but not too much, mostly it's just paint. This actually was originally dark blue and black, and I wrote song lyrics on it, and then I just felt it was too dark and a little depressing, so then I went over it again in the purple and the yellow acrylic paint, and then wrote over that again. So if you're unhappy with something, you can always just re-go over it. We were hanging out with friends, and this was the label off of the wine bottle, so I stuck that in there, slapped our little pictures in, did some journaling. For all of the photos, I either use my Instax camera, which does the little Polaroid style ones, or I have an LG pocket printer, which actually prints photos from my cell phone, and I use a lot of those in throughout. This was a label off of, I think, a beer one of my friends was drinking a night when we were hanging out. This came off of a little Recollections. It's like a little jar that came with pretty crafty things in it, and so I stuck it in here. I do that a lot. I take labels off of things. These were stamps I'd gotten. This was the day I actually bought the new circus stamps when the post office released them, and so I put one of the stamps in there, and then that was the top layer, and I put one of my photos I'd taken of a cute little snail and stuck that in there and journaled. I had gotten an order from Goulet Pen Company, put that in there. This was the day that Maya Angelou passed away, and so I put one of her poems in there and painted some flowers and then outlined the flowers. Same thing here, just acrylic paint and then me smearing colors around and then going over it with markers. Nothing fancy. This is all like super quick, scribbling. I think it just looks like it's a lot because it started out with a couple layers, but it's not anything special or difficult. Anyone could do it. I really liked using like the white marker and then going over it with the black and highlighting areas. That worked really well. I like how it made things pop. That was sort of just like the style I was going with at the time. You know, I painted a snail. I painted mushrooms. It's all super silly. Next one, I was still going pretty hog wild with colors. As you can see, receipts, fold outs, more distress stain, more acrylic, poetry and journaling. This is just distress stain, and then, you know, polka dots and hearts. This is acrylic. This is actually just nothing but the stain showing through from the other side. Silly paintings. This was a color-filled painting done in the 1940s and 50s. The color was the subject. Didn't particularly like how it turned out, but now I really like it. This was actually when I was pregnant, and I loved these sparkling prickly passion lemonades, and so I took one of the labels off and stuck that in there. This is from a note card that I got from a pen pal, and I really liked the picture. More washi tape, more feathers. As you can see, I love feathers. That was a business card. More fold outs. Dog had a vet appointment. This was a label off of a Midori book. This was paper my mother-in-law bought me. It's called poo paper. It's actually made from elephant dung, which is kind of funny. No, it does not smell. This was a drawing from my daughter. More fold outs. Like I said, the end of the books are usually just, it's sort of like have gotten crazy where I've gotten to the point where I want to move on to the next one and I let my daughter go nuts in them. This one is from early 2015. I used a lot, I was getting little makeup subscription boxes, and so I was using some of the packaging that I thought was cute off of those and taping them in here. We bought my daughter this really cool little cheapy magnifying glass, and I thought the box looked cool, so I cut out the sides. I went to Paper Source and got some goodies. This was for my husband and I's anniversary. We went to Norton's Deli, so I glued the business card in. I'd gotten a Kiki K planner that I ended up selling because it's not a traveler's notebook, but that was the label off of that. This is when Two Rivers Field Notes edition came out. I watched the newer RoboCop movie and I took notes on it, like super silly things. This is from a little perfume sample I got. I mean, I sort of just shove everything in here. And then I go pages and pages with nothing. These were just like random notes. Mail subscriptions, lists. And we get some more pictures, but it looks like I got busy and I stopped painting. Then I moved on to the next one. This is part of the same set as this one, the America the Beautiful set that's not available. I think it's probably my all-time favorite set, along with Shelterwood. I really like the Shelterwoods. This one, I love how thick these things get too. But a lot of pictures, a lot of stamps, a lot of tape. More clippings off of things I got in the mail. I do like these little Project Life cards because I like to use them as the fold outs. You know, more stamps for my mail. I love using stamps for my mail, as you can see. And lots of different colored pens. I never write in like just black or blue. I like the colors, the colors, the colors. Little memes, like when you see those Facebook posters and stuff that I like so much, sometimes I'll save them and then I'll shrink them down and I'll print them out and I'll stick them in here. Anytime we go anywhere, I'll take like little business cards. Like this was a nature thing we went to. And I cut out things from the brochures and I stuck those in here, and then I journaled about the trip. This is actually a postcard I cut in half and then taped in, so they were fold outs. This was for Free Comic Book Day, as you can see. This was on a macaroni and cheese box. And so I put "We ate Star Wars macaroni and cheese, yum yum." More pictures, more stamps, just journaling. This was a lipstick I was wearing that day, so I put a kiss mark in. These are new washi tapes I got, so I stuck samples of them in. These were off of faux pictures that were in a frame that I bought from my mother-in-law. And I really liked the feathers. I love feathers, so I cut those out of the packaging. And then this is when I went to Portland. This is a picture out of the window from the plane using my Instax camera. This is a napkin that I got on the plane. This was a sticker I got from the bookstore along with my receipt and a business card from the coffee shop my brother took me to. This is my brother's business card. It was his wedding, that's why I was there. This is from the same coffee place. It's Dutch Brothers is what it's called, Dutch Bros. This is my feet at the Portland airport, because apparently the Portland airport carpet is famous and they're taking it out. So people, I guess, have been taking pictures of themselves standing on the carpet. So I did that. This is just a doily I glued in. It was my brother's wedding and I thought that was just pretty. And pictures of my brother and his new wife. Little poetry. This was actually sprayed onto the sidewalk in downtown Portland. So we took a picture of all of our feet in front of it and I printed that out and put it in here. It's got the kind of stuff I love. I love the receipts and the napkins and the business cards. This one is my latest one and actually has a lot of that because we went to a comic convention here locally. And I must have come home with 25 business cards off of everyone's different tables. Doodled flowers, stamps, distress ink, washi tape, distress ink, doodled books, more cards. This one has a lot of the internet printouts in it. More inks and more pen colors. This was off of an envelope. This is the day I got my new tattoo. Then we get to, the comic convention. So this was like the brochure for the comic convention. So I cut that out, taped it in. This is one of the business cards, taped that in. These business cards all fold out, which I thought was cool. This is a signature from the Hillywood sisters, who are girls who make parodies on YouTube that I really, really love, and they're sweet girls. This is actually their business card. So I got their autograph because they were there, and I wrote about getting their autograph. And then more business cards from the convention. I love fold-outs. You guys should really start using fold-outs if you're not doing it yet. Postcards and stuff from the convention, pictures that we took while we were there, stickers that we took while we were there, more business cards, more junk off the tables I grabbed.